Bang, bang. What's going on, DFS peeps? Got Price here, fresh, recovering from COVID. He battled through it and is giving his best effort tonight. We're going to keep it kind of short because he is still a little weak from fatigue. Price, how you feeling beyond the COVID? You excited for week 2? And any comments on week 1 if you're able to watch?
I watched from the hospital. So not only am I thinking I'm dying, but I'm watching my bankroll die at the same time.
So yeah, thanks, Najee Harris.
Very happy to be back home. Very happy to be able to do this week. I know I was texting y'all while I'm in the hospital, trying to get what I can, but I'm ready for this week, man. It should be much better week for us. We have some data to pull from, some good games.
Yeah, like I mean, one of our picks for cash was Najee Harris. I've kind of talked about on our Discord. He got 100% of the snaps, 100%, which is the kind of volume you want any week, and he got 6 points. So it's kind of like I kind of equate it to poker, right? You started with pocket aces, and you got beat by something crap, right? So you might have had the best hand, and it just didn't work out. And sometimes that happens, but we're on to week 2. Oh, we also had Mostert too, which that glass cannon.
Not only that, but against you in season long, I had Mostert, Aaron Jones, Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, I smoked you, but I wasn't going to go there. I know you're recovering, and I want to rehash any of that stuff.
Okay.
Week 2, I guess we'll dive right in, kind of go position by position, just give a couple people we like. And, obviously we have the Thursday night game coming up. So if you haven't, go follow us on the socials. We give out picks for those. We usually throw out three guys we're using for our lineups. And then obviously come join us in our Discord. We'll answer questions, comments, things of that nature to help you get the right fit. So we'll start out with the big boys, the QBs for week 2. Anybody you like from the top range, let's say 6K and up.
Yeah, I think this is where the majority of people will stick this week. The obvious ones are, Kyler, Herbert, Dak, and Hurts. Excuse me. My favorite's going to be Hurts. He's just so mobile, averaging almost 9 yards a carry last week. He's accurate. I saw a stat he's already thrown for over 300 yards more times than Lamar Jackson has in his career.
Wow. Great stat there. Statistician.
And you get, a lot of checkdowns last week against the Lions. The Lions used against San Fran to their running backs, and both Gainwell and Miles Sanders are very capable of catching the ball. You got Devontae Smith, who looked like a real number 1. You got Goddard. So Hurts is probably by far my favorite play this week. What about you?
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, as far as my favorite play, I'm going to say Murray. Obviously, the price will dictate, if he's using my lineup or not. And me, more the cash guy. I love Kyler. I love Hurts, like you said, because their potential to bust is so much smaller because of their mobility and the ability to get rushing touchdowns along with rushing yards. So. Herbert's intriguing. They're chunking the ball a lot. Eckler got 0 targets, which kind of pissed me off because he's on my fantasy team. But I expect him to be a little more involved against my hometown Cowboys. So I like Herbert. Tons of weapons. Keenan Allen, back healthy, left off where he started or ended last year before he got hurt. And then you got Mikey Williams and Eckler and all those guys. So I think. This is a tough, especially when you're thinking GPP, right? You got a lot of guys in here, like a Winston, right, who had a fantastic game last week. How's he going to bounce back?
He only threw for 148 yards.
Yeah, I know, but he was spot on. He didn't have to, right? Plus, that defense is so good. That's what worries you about somebody like him. They get up, they're going to try to, milk the clock and that kind of thing. Any love for Cousins this week?
No, I'd look at Tyrod as my cheap end, him or Burrow.
Well, of course, you're a Texans fan.
Well, they're also going to be getting the shit kicked out of him, so he's going to have to throw.
Yeah, I mean, their offense looked really good. Tyrod looked money. I mean, they ran the ball well. Obviously, it was the Jags, but still, I mean, they looked good offensively.
I think Burrow's going
Um,
to have a really nice year though, and he's
yeah,
pretty cheap again.
which was all, the preseason, whatever you want to surround him, didn't look, he looked hesitant, all this stuff, and then came out and was fantastic. Obviously they went and got a win against Minnesota. So he has a ton of weapons around him. The line held up a lot better, it seems. So yeah, I expect good things out of him. So yeah, I like this kind of the same guy. I like Russ too this week. I think Tennessee will come back and bounce back offensively. And so that'd be more kind of a shootout. But all right, dipping down. Anybody in the lower end that you like or looking at maybe?
Not really.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a week to dip down. Personally, I want to wait till the pricing is a little bit softer. But until then, there's no reason not to pay for someone in the mid sixes who can get you 30, 35 points.
Yeah, I totally agree there. Really the only guy, and you already mentioned him, that's below 6 that I would look at would be Burrow. Nobody, I mean, Matt Ryan, that offense, it was first offensive possession, Ridley, like 3 or 4 catches for 40, and then he like didn't have a catch until the very end of the game.
Saw someone on Twitter who was like, you got to remember when we're chasing Calvin Ridley and Mike Davis and Kyle Pitts that maybe Matt Ryan sucks.
Jeez, man. Yeah, it was bad. So, and then obviously you mentioned Tyrod Taylor. I forgot. I kind of glanced over him. So I do think he's a good play just because they're going to be trailing, coming from behind. They're going to throw a lot, prevent defense, rack up the yards. So I like that. All right, moving on to the RBs. Kind of a weird week. Week 1, you had Cook didn't really have a great game. Henry obviously busted. And then you had other guys like why can't I think of his name? Mixon, who busted out of the gates, had a really great game. So who do you like? I mean, they're kind of pricey this week, some of these guys, based on their return. So we'll stay the top end range. Any of the 8K and up guys, who's your favorite?
Derrick Henry would probably be my favorite. I think he's due for a bounce back. They played at the slowest pace in the entire league on Sunday, when last year they ran the fastest pace.
Yeah.
So it's night and day difference. That won't happen again. And, he usually takes a while to get going as the season goes. So I would fully expect him to get 25 carries and bust, 140, 150 yards and at least 1 touchdown this week.
Yeah, I think for me, the price point makes me really want to go at Henry. One game, one-offs, like he did that last year. He had one of the best matchups. I forget who it was against. It was in the playoffs, I think, and we played him, and he dudded big time, right? And then the next week he runs for 200 something yards. So with that, you kind of got to throw it as an outlier. We know what he can do. He's proven it. They're going to make a emphasis on running the ball just like they do every week. So I do like Henry, especially at that price point. Can't go wrong with CMC. The dude is just a beast. Kind of was hesitant on playing him week 1 just because of, the injury last year. I was a little spiteful because I had the number 1 pick and I drafted him. But you kind of worry, new quarterback, but man, they used him the exact same way. He was peppered in the passing game and then obviously got a ton of runs. So those are my 2. Kamara doesn't get enough love as far as touches. I mean, the backup there kind of took over what's-his-face's Murray's role, so Kamara's never going to be the 25 carries a game guy. Moving down, I'll tell you one guy I don't like this week, and I know I said I think they're going to get him more involved, but Eckler, kind of the same reason, until he's fully healthy and not splitting as many reps, and I see him more involved in the passing game, I'm not going to pay up for 7,300. The funny thing is the coordinator was the same coordinator for Kamara and I forget the other scat back type. And so you figure they would get him super involved and he just wasn't. But I like Harris there. I know we kind of talked about it before this. Even though he bombed on us last week, I like him, but I don't know if I'm going to click him for a cash play until I see, a little more efficiency. 6 points on like 20 touches or something, and 100% snap share. That's that's things you want to see as a DFS analyst, but the results from that were very crappy. So I want to see that offense click a little more before I spend 6,300 on them. I think there's a couple guys that give as much value that are a little cheaper.
Yeah, I really like Chris Carson this week. He ran 18 routes last week. He dominated the touches. I mean, yes, they threw for 4 touchdowns. That's going to happen, but I think he's just in a spot to smash. All his backups suck. He's only 6,100. We saw Tennessee, yield a bunch of yards to Edmonds and Connor last week. I really would like to pick David Montgomery, but he and Damian Williams evenly split routes last week, which is kind of disheartening because, Montgomery was a beast on the ground. And then we talked about Chubb before. That matchup against Houston, he's going to fucking dominate.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for me is Miles Sanders, I like Jalen Hurts. Sanders is uber talented, except he yielded a bunch of touches to Gainwell. And we saw last week, like the Lions attacked the Niners with the tight end and the 2 running backs. I think between the 3 of them, they had like almost 280 yards receiving.
Yeah.
Like 22 catches or something like that. So, I mean, it's a really good spot. Sanders is super explosive. I would rather. I see why you want to look at Najee again because of the snap share, but I think it's just smarter to drop down a little bit to Carson or even play Zeke. I mean, Zeke handled the bulk of the touches.
Yeah, that was just the game plan. Obviously a Cowboys fan, the Bucks have one of the best, if not the best, front sevens. From the get-go, we weren't going to try to smash mouth football, and they didn't. And it, the game plan worked out. They just missed on some stuff down the stretch. But yeah, I mean, they're not going to do that all season. They're going to get him his touches, and I agree with you. It's a bounce back game for him, especially at that price. With how talented he is. And the off season that they had. So I like Zeke there too, man. Yeah, I'm all in on Chubb a dub. Like, let's go. Click and forget on the Texans. I do like Carson. He's been more involved in the passing game, like you said, year after year. And it finally feels like this year he's going to get, the 80% snap share that we want. So, and I like Gaskin, just not this week. I think he's.
I know. It's a tough matchup.
Yeah, but he's good out of the backfield too. So maybe in a GPP because he probably will be very low owned. Could pop off in the.
I think he had 5 catches last week.
Yeah, 5 catches. So.
And I like Darrell Henderson too, personally.
Yeah, I remember you chatting him up earlier today. So.
He had a really solid week. I know everybody kept wanting to click Sony Michel because they traded for him, but I think Michel had 1 touch. Henderson, I think, had like 15 carries for 70 yards and had a catch for 17, had a touchdown. I mean, it's very, very explosive athlete. And Carson went for 90 on Indy last week, so I don't see why the Rams couldn't do it right back to him because they have a better offensive line.
I agree.
Your favorite guy down here at 5K.
Let me scroll down and see. Oh, yeah. He's in my lineup. That's why he's not on the board here.
Yeah.
Mr. Mitchell, San Fran is going to run the ball. It seems like they're so injury prone, the Niners, it seems like, especially at running back. But you look at something like last year, it didn't matter who really came in at running back. They freaking performed because that line's good. They have a good scheme and they're going to run the ball. So obviously went over 100 yards last week, touchdown. They're going to be run heavy, especially early on against Philly, who, can be suspect in the run game at times. So I like Mitchell. He's going to get the bulk of the carries. I know Sermon was a healthy scratch and people might want to, click him, and he'll probably get carries because they have no choice. Right. But I think Mitchell obviously is going to handle the bulk. There's a reason that Sermon was a healthy scratch and he wasn't. So they're probably regretting that draft pick for whatever reason, but I don't care. I'm taking Mitchell, especially at 5K on that run heavy offense.
think that probably wraps up running backs this week.
Yeah, I think you did you talk on Edmonds yet?
No, I think Edmonds he's going to get 12 carries. He'll get every route run because Connors doesn't catch the ball, so he should get 6 to 8 targets. And if it's a
Yeah.
high scoring game, it helps Edmonds even more. So I feel like Edmonds is that easy, like 12 to 15 point guy. And if he scores, he's going to get, at least 22 plus, and that could break the slate at 4,900.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the only guy I was really touching on down here. The other guys, it's kind of like throwing a dart blind.
Yeah.
They're all splitting carries or in positions where they're not really able to perform. All right.
Not a year bread and butter.
Love my receivers. So we'll go 7K and up here. A guy I'm all in on. I was on him last week. If you're a subscriber, wrote him up in the deep dive, Keenan Allen. There was some hesitancy on him because he had the injury at the end of the year. But the dude is about as solid as you can get at DFS. He's going to get a ton of targets. He scored 22 points last week on 13 targets. So, I mean, he's right picking up where he left off with Herbert last year. He's a 10 plus target guy almost every week, playing Dallas, who obviously got lit up in the passing game. So he's I do love Hopkins here too, but Keenan Allen at 7K just seems like a steal. I mean, yeah. So I'm not really going to even look at the other guys because I'm sold on Keenan Allen. Who do you like? Anybody 7K up besides my man Keenan?
Maybe Calvin Ridley. That would probably be about it, though. It's hard besides, Keenan and Hopkins to trust any of the other guys at the moment. Metcalf, maybe if he wasn't 7,600.
Diggs got 14 targets last week.
I know. It's just, I feel like I think Keenan's the best play. I mean, your Dallas D is garbage.
Hey,
and
I love Lawrence.
I know it's gonna be even worse.
Terrible.
But I mean, the guy who I think really could break the slate is Calvin Ridley. If he has the Amari Cooper night where he puts up 35 points. Or what did he score? 40? Yeah, he scored 40.
Yeah.
So he scores 40 points at 8% owned because he had a dud last week at 7,500. That's pretty good leverage right there for GPP, I think.
No love for Metcalf or Lockett. I mean, one of those guys is bound to go off in that game.
I would pick Metcalf over Lockett. I don't think Lockett goes back-to-back big weeks.
Yeah. They kind of traded off last year, one or the other. So,
and Metcalf is just a monster. And I think he's more like DeAndre Hopkins, and that's who tore him up last week. So
I like it. All right, let's go 6K up.
The other part of the Dallas game I like is Mike Williams, sorry. At 6,100. I think he and Keenan had the same amount of targets.
Yeah, week. I mean, they threw the ball, I think, almost 40 times, and there was none to the running backs. So
he's a great play this week. I really like Deontay Johnson again. He's just a target monster.
No, that's my boy.
And then it's hard I feel like you have to pick between CD and Cooper. I think more people will go CD because he's cheaper. But I think Cooper might be the guy. It sure as hell looks like he's going to get a bunch of targets every week. And now Gallup's out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and especially with CD being able to, it's going to be hard to double or, they have such a potent offense that it's hard to kind of key in on one of their guys. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, Cooper came out like a gangbuster and I think he's going to continue to do so throughout the year. So I like Cooper. Obviously, I'm a Cowboys fan too, but my favorite play, Allen Robinson, 6,200. 6,200. That's, to me, it's stupid. I mean, yes, I know he only had 35 yards last week, but
Jalen Ramsey on him a lot too.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Their defense is really good. They're probably keen on him. Didn't have a chance to visually watch the game, but from a metric standpoint, everything's pointing to Allen, including his previous seasons. I mean, the dude is a target monster, and he's gonna. I mean, volume leads to good things, especially for a receiver. And at 6,200, Allen, I don't care who they are if they're getting 11 targets. And it's not like it's a one-off thing. I mean, he gets those targets week in and week out. And going up against Cincy, who we obviously know can score, they have a potent offense. I like Allen Robinson, man. I'm gonna pretty much him and Allen. I'm gonna lock in. Just gonna give it to y'all. All right, cheap guys, 5K and up, or 5K all the way down. Anybody you have to have?
So I think the probably most popular play will be Tim Patrick with Jerry Jeudy getting a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, he's on IR.
So part of me wants to go to Sutton. He's 5,200, but I think the smartest thing will just skip him and pick the tight end. Jamar Chase at 5K is really solid. I know he's a little bit more, but Devontae Smith at 5,400 as well is very enticing. Just because he's going to get 8-9 targets. He's explosive. That offense is explosive. Our boy Beasley had what, like 13 targets last week?
Yep, I know.
Monster.
The enigma. I play him. 0 targets.
The only real cheap play I would look at would be Donovan Peoples-Jones, since they're shutting down Odell again for week 2, which, by the way, that fucked me last week, was stacking that game and not realizing I had no substitutions.
Yeah.
My pivot was to Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. So that was fucking fantastic. But Peoples-Jones ran more routes. I know that what's his face? I can't think of his name right now.
You talking about
Schwartz? Schwartz got 5 targets.
Yeah,
5 catches, I think, but he ran less routes. Peoples-Jones is a better athlete. He was great in college, top recruit coming out of high school. He's just a better player, and I believe he's like min priced. Yeah, he's 3,000. So if you want to take the route of not using Chubb and using a pass catcher, and you're not going to use Jarvis Landry, I would much rather take a flyer on Peoples-Jones than anything.
Yeah, and I think you can take both in that game. You look at the Texans last week, where they had multiple guys have big games. Ingram, I think every running back scored for them, which is kind of crazy. And then obviously Cooks had a good game. But like Cole Beasley at 4,600. I mean, that's an easy click for me. They don't run the ball, man. Buffalo's like, they're gonna run it, 12 to 15 times it seems, and they're just gonna throw a ton. They've had an inclination to do that ever since last year, and so I know Singletary actually ran the ball pretty well against Pitt, but just a lot of targets to go around there when they're throwing 40 times a game. Jones Jr., a little bit intriguing. He had a great game against your Texans. A savvy vet, Lawrence, likes to throw to him. It's just the game flow of that one. Well, it's kind of hard to say. Like, is Denver gonna be able to put up enough points? Is Jacksonville? It's just kind of one of those where you can see the game going like 17-14, and not a lot of scoring opportunities. I like your call on Tim Patrick. Especially with Jeudy out. I mean, those targets are going to be there. I like Fant over him, but I like that.
Darnell Mooney.
Your boy Mooney.
You're not going to use Allen Robinson at 6,200. You got Mooney at 4,200.
But you should use Allen Robinson.
You should.
Just going to tell you that. But if you're GPP, Mooney, baby.
Just need Justin Fields.
To the tight end. Yeah, lock him in.
I mean, fucking Waller, dude, is just.
Dude, he's a beast. He got his life right. And the dude is just, unstoppable when Carr throws him the ball. seems like the games when he doesn't is because Carr just didn't give him the ball. So he's obviously the tight end one this week.
Yes.
But I mean, tight ends have kind of been one of those things. It's like the top two guys, like a Kittle and Kelsey usually, or Waller. And then it's like, where do you go after that? So give us some insight on tight ends, and you can just have the whole range because there's just not, it's not much difference in the threes and twos.
So I think Waller's personally too expensive this week at 7,600. It's hard to fit him. I would have liked Kittle, but I don't see the point in paying 6,400 for Kittle when Kyle Pitts, I think, is basically the same player at 1,200 cheaper. I know he has a much tougher matchup, but I think he had like a 30-something% target share last week.
Yeah.
And it should just get, better as the season goes on. They get more acclimated because he didn't really play much preseason. Fant is probably my favorite tight end this week. It was really between him or Jared Cook. But if you're going to use Keenan Allen or Michael Williams, I don't know about using Jared Cook as well. I believe Cole Kmet's another really solid play at 3,700. He's, I think, taken Jimmy Graham's job already.
And she should. I mean, Jimmy Graham can't block to save his life. So, Kmet's going to get in there to play more plays anyway. So,
and I really like Troutman. I know Troutman's not a sexy name, but 5-6 targets, he's 3K. He gets you 4 catches, 40 yards. He pays off, and he enables you to play someone expensive.
And if you remember last year, we were all in on Troutman.
And then he hurt his ankle.
And then the next week he scored 2 touchdowns, I think. So I'm still a little bitter on that guy. No love for Gronk, man. Dude freaking bombed it up against Dallas. Has a great matchup individually. Atlanta can't guard anybody, especially the tight end. I mean, no love there.
No.
8 targets last week for 8 catches. Tom Brady's boy. All right, Price. I'll remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bucks are going to be one of those teams that's going to be hard all year. You saw it last week. Mike Evans dudded. This week it might be Godwin or Brown, and the next week the one or the other. And it's like, how do you? And then Gronk go off one week. It's like OJ Howard. I don't know what happened to him, but he might have got hurt. I think
never again.
Yeah. I mean, how about Gesicki? 0 points last week. That was a little baffling, but
yeah, I used him in Yahoo on their daily fantasy because he was so cheap. He was almost min priced, and I fucking see why.
Any love for Dallas Goedert? I mean, him and Ertz got 3 or 4 catches, I think.
Yeah, I think Ertz couldn't practice today. He got a rest day. So if Ertz is any kind of, limited, I think Goedert's, he fires ass up and play him because Hawkinson destroyed San Fran last week at the tight end. So if Goedert's going to get anything similar to that, you fucking lock him in and go. But that's about it for me on tight ends.
One other one I'll throw in there is Jared Cook came out.
I literally already talked about him.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about it again because I said I like him. Is 3,900, 8 targets, and a pass-happy offense. So, as far as tight ends go, you want targets and volume because a lot of these guys are only going to get 3 or 4. So if you can get a guy that gets 7 to 8 to 9 targets, I mean, that's just, especially because most of them are cheap.
Especially when there was talk before the season of Parham and Cook kind of competing against each other, but Parham only ran 1 route or got 1 target, and he was called into block like 35% of the time. So Cook is going to be the pass catching tight end.
Bang. Good information. All right. Give me one defense. We always punt defense 90% of the time, but give me one defense you like.
I don't really want to punt this week personally, but I think Cardinals, I think they're going to get 5 sacks. Cousins is good for a turnover, at least 1, if not 2. And then as long as you can kind of bottleneck Dalvin Cook, you should be okay. I know it's, bottlenecking one of the top 2 running backs in the league, but they got 3 guys you got to worry about. Just get pressure with Watt and Chandler Jones and go make Kirk Cousins turn the ball over a bunch. What about you?
Yeah, especially if they're behind, right? Then they get forced throwing downs. I like the Steelers kind of for the same reason. The Raiders obviously got the win, but Carr can implode sometimes, and I just think that the Pittsburgh defense will force them into some bad things. And then obviously the TJ Watt, the highest paid defensive end or player or whatever he is these days, is going to get some pressure on him. So, and as far as a punt play, we're looking at the Jets. If y'all remember last year, we played them a lot and they always banged out for us. So be on the lookout for the Jets play if we go cheap. Any last words, Mr. Price?
No, just enjoy watching the Cowboys get the shit kicked out of them by the Chargers.
I think it's going to be a good game. A lot of points scored.
I think it's going to be the most popular game used in DFS this week for a good reason.
Yeah. Hopefully my defense can hold them off enough and our kicker can make a kick.
Just keep trying them 60-yarders.
Gosh, I've read a thing. I think I sent it to y'all. Lamar Jackson makes less money than Greg Zuerlein. Go figure.
Makes sense.
Yeah, perfect sense.
They both lost their team in the games.
That's true. That's true. I'd rather pay the guy less to lose the game for me, though.
Yeah.
All right. Remember, guys, go check us out, dfsdads.com, and on our socials. We get free picks, content, and as always, we have a good time. So good luck this week, and we will see you for our stacks video later on.